the unemployment rate and gross domestic product (GDP) are two critical economic variables that influence a country's prosperity. Due to their importance, both have been the subject of extensive global research. One powerful method to explore how these two variables interact over time is through the vector autoregression VAR model. In this study, we applied the VAR model to Malaysian economic data spanning over 6 decades. According to Ocken's law, a 1% decrease in unemployment rate could lead to a 2% increase in GDP. Hence, this study aimed to achieve two key objectives. First, to determine the dynamic relationships between the GDP and the unemployment rate in Malaysia using the VAR model. Second, to determine the impact of the unemployment rate on the GDP in Malaysia and vice versa. To support these objectives, the study is guided by the following problem statement. Several studies demonstrate a negative correlation between the unemployment rate and GDP. However, limited research has been conducted using the VAR model to forecast these two variables, specifically in the Malaysian context. This inquiry therefore aims to determine the suitability of the VAR approach in addressing both objectives and providing insights into the dynamic interactions between these two key economic indicators. Now, let us see how we translated our findings into something more practical while diving into the methodology and results of the study. Introducing Labornomics My, an interactive web application created from the statistical findings of our study titled Dynamic Interactions Between Unemployment Rate and Malaysia's Gross Domestic Product (GDP), forecasting using vector autoregression VAR approach. With interactive graphs and a built-in forecast calculator, users can easily predict future values of GDP and unemployment rate using the VAR-1 model equations, discover historical trends from 1962 to 2022, access real data used in the study, and most importantly, follow a clear step-by-step guide on how the VAR research was constructed. It's a fun, visual, and easy way to dive into economic forecasting, perfect for students, researchers, or anyone curious about Malaysia's economy. The VAR model was developed through 7 main steps using R programming. But for this video, we'll highlight the most important steps related to our research objectives. Initial stationarity test, step 1 indicated that both GDP and the unemployment rate were non-stationary and became stationary after first differencing. Lag selection criteria in step 2 consistently suggested an optimal lag length of 1 for the analysis. Despite stationarity adjustments, we chose the original data for model estimation because it met most of the necessary statistical assumptions. The VAR-1 model of the unemployment rate and GDP for the selected data can be formulated as follows. Now, let's explore the impulse response function (IRF) at step 7, a tool that shows how shocks to one variable affect the other over time. Based on both figures, the blue IRF lines demonstrate that a positive shock of a variable negatively impacts the other variable within a short term, and this supports Ocken's law. In conclusion, both research objectives were successfully achieved. There is a weak to moderate relationship between Malaysia's GDP and unemployment rate, with short-term negative impacts from shocks to a single variable following Ocken's law in both directions. Future research should use quarterly data, employ a more diverse analytical technique, and consider new macroeconomic variables to improve the validity of the findings. I am Yusra from UiTM Seremban, and this project was completed with the support of my supervisor, Dr. Nurul Nisa. Thank you.